We are back with WIP Wonder Woman, and today we feature Preeti Khare. Welcome, Preeti.
Thank you, Mandeep, for having me on this platform, Women in Power. I'm extremely excited to be with you today.
You're such an accomplished person. How could I not have you? Reading your resume is like, I was so impressed. We are today talking to you as a relationship coach, but you are a keynote speaker, you are a mentor, you are a motivational coach, and you are a transformational coach as well. Besides that, I know that you are the president of the WICCI in MP, and you're training a lot of corporates, lots of universities, and doing some amazing work. So during our chat today, I would love for you to share some of these experiences with us. But to begin with, my favorite question to everyone is, tell me about your childhood. Where was it, and when did you dream about getting into a profession like yours?
Mm. First of all, thank you so much for the beautiful introduction that you gave to the audiences. Thank you, Mandeep. To begin with the question that you've asked, I'll take you back to Kanpur, where I was born and brought up till a certain period of time. And that after that, we moved to Jaipur. So I was born into a very beautiful family. My dad, who was a wholesale and retail, he had a wholesale and retail business of, uh, medicines. And my mom was a homemaker up till a certain point in time. And then uh, I don't feel very happy about it, but that's a fact of life. And I've learned a lot after that. But I lost my dad when I was 10. 10 years, and yeah, and we were five sisters, and my mom lost him when she was 38. So I think the journey began there, Mandeep, wherein I saw my mom actually relating to different people, whether it is society, whether it's people at home, whether how suddenly everything begins to change around you with circumstances, was my first lesson that I learned very early on to what I am today. But again, taking you back there, so I was born and brought up till my graduation. I was there in Kanpur, did my PCM, physics, chemistry, maths, and graduation. But as you would understand, that after losing my dad and things in the family, the business and everything was taken away by people around us. It was a little ugly. I don't want to talk about it. But my mom was, I think, one of the very, very strong women that I know, and she kind of five daughters raising us all. None of us was married when my dad, had left. I'm number three in that order. And we all got educated up till a certain time, Mandeep, and then we had to take a break, from the regular studies, and then, reach that point when you are ready to earn so that you can support the family. So that was happening one after another. So I did my graduation and started to work. So as a teacher first, and then moved on to the corporate. So that's where my childhood started. And then I moved to Jaipur, and then things,
But
moved on.
I'm so impressed that when you moved overseas with your husband and the 15 years that you spent with all your MBA, the fact that you went to University of Michigan and you did your MS, the master's there as well, and then you worked in corporate America and also stayed in the Middle East. It's lovely to meet a life partner who also is as progressive as you are, and then make it happen. So tell me about that, duration or that tenure of your life.
Lovely question. Yeah. So that was way back in 2001 when I got married to my husband. And as you rightly put, he's an extremely progressive man and gets very, very happy with other people's progress and growing and personal growth in all dimensions. Very true. So when I came to Mumbai, before that I had worked for about 9 years, Mandeep, already as a teacher, and also worked in various multinationals like Modi Pay, Korea Telecom, which was my first company. Became a trainer from one company to another. And then when I got married, my husband's first thing was that you have already worked for 9 years and there wasn't any choice for you. So when you are married now and and we were in Mumbai at that point in time, he was in Mumbai at that point in time. So it was like, you now relax and do whatever you feel like. Don't get into the grit of normal work, So that's where my different kind of learning journey started, Mandeep. And I started to learn French, just out of passion. Yeah, went to Olio Francais and then did my Delph and Dalf. And then after that, we moved to the US for his PhD. He went to the Ohio State University, which is Columbus, and he did his PhD. But the thing that happened with me during that time, Mandeep, was that it is a weird rule of the US that when your spouses are given the full scholarship, then you are not allowed to work. So you are on a dependent visa on them. And that kind of derailed me a little bit from following any career, passion, and all of those things. So I definitely raised my child at that point in time and had another one. So we were there for 5.5 years in the US in our first stint. And I had 2 children, but at the same time, I never sat at home. I think from day one, I was busy volunteering some places and another or another. Yeah. So there was a beautiful organization called Inch, where women from different parts of the globe would come twice a week, and I was teaching them English as a secondary language, ESL, at that point in time. And then so all these 5 years I went and then built on, taught women from all across the globe. It was a wonderful experience. And then after that, we moved to the Middle East, and that was his first job after PhD. US was down. It was there was a huge slump, and we moved to the Middle East. That was the first job that came to him after his PhD. And that's when my journey began again, coming back to work. I started to work as a teacher then. For me, as a person, family has always been the first thing, working so much and all of those things, pursuing my own dreams and my identity, which was very, very precious to me. But family was the first thing. So anything that I did was keeping this family in the center and as the focus. I learned jewelry making when I was in the US, and then I never knew I'm going to be using it here in the Middle East. So I started my own venture. And something again that I learned French, as I told you. I also never knew that Middle East is so big on French, and I'll be tutoring kids for, like anything. So it was, again, these 2 things that I did there. And then again, from Dubai, we went back to the States. And that's when I began, thinking about going back to the school one more time, because I had lost touch with my MBA, hadn't worked in that area, and I really wanted to do that. So
love the fact that all expatriate wives, the way they innovate themselves, and the ones who really want to do, there are a lot of them who don't have a choice. And yes, there are a lot of expat wives groups who do other things, but the ones who really want to get at it, the entrepreneurship and wanting to study further and experiment is really a nice touch, Preeti, into that. But of all the trainings that you've been doing in India ever since you have come here, and the wonderful mentorship to all the universities and corporates and PSUs that you're involved with, I just wanted to, one aspect that for our community today that we're going to talk about is relationship coaching.
yes.
And I was very excited about the couple of programs that you give is the premarital bit of the coaching advice and the post-marriage. So give us this, what kind of issues do people bring in these 2?
Lovely. So if you allow me, Mandeep, and I would like to give it a little pretext into how did I get into relationship coaching, because that's very important for women to know, I feel. So what happened when I came back to India in 2017, after a long, haul of 15 years, it wasn't very easy for me to come and stay with in a tier 2 city. And we came because of our in-laws. We came back to India with 2 kids who were in the age where, they needed a lot of attention. My older one was 8th grade, and he came in the 9th grade in India, and it wasn't easy. The grill of Indian education, and there was a lot of toll, because when I went back in the second stint to the US, I not just studied, but I worked in corporate America with the companies like Victoria's Secret, Wendy's, American Red Cross, and stuff like that. So I was a very independent woman, right? And then coming here, not being able to drive because of the crowd here, not getting used to all of the stuff, and then also coming and staying with the in-laws, which was a little conservative family,
Sure.
and wasn't easy for me. So I think how relationship coaching came into this thing was that I started to work here after my MS that I did from here. I came back and joined as a OD consultant in one of the companies in Bhopal. But sooner I realized that if I had to stay in Bhopal, which was my husband's decision, of course, and together ours, I would not be able to do the real HR. It was more of the admin that was, understood here, yeah. And I'd never wanted to go, as I mentioned earlier, family was the first thing. So I never wanted to go for a 9 to 7 kind of a job. What was happening to me not being able to adjust here was on all fronts, on my career front, inside of the family. And I think, as I mentioned, my husband is one of the most beautiful and respected souls that I have around me. But sometimes life is like that you might have your different goals in life. And so when I needed the support the most when I was here, I think I didn't get that kind of support at that point in time. And I was like sort of, in this space where there was a lot going inside of me. And I wanted to, really take charge, didn't want to go insane, it was like, so I needed my own transformation, Mandeep.
Yes.
And I think moving from HR to coaching is something that I would like to bring up here, how it happened. So once I understood that HR is not going to be the thing in Bhopal for me, sitting for 1.5 months with my own self, answering the questions that were coming up to me, what is next for me? Where do I go? And what is happening with me? How do I kind of deal with that and cope up with that? That's when I stumped on coaching. And everything, which was told to me in previous countries, and ever since that, my children's parents, whenever they spoke to me, whether it was US or Middle East, they always told me that, are you a psychologist? Are you a counselor or something? Because talking to you is very soothing. We get solutions. So everything started to come back to me, Mandeep, at that point in time. And I was trying to figure out what is that next thing for me, because HR doesn't seem the way. And think about that, Mandeep. 2016, I finished my MS with so much of money spent in that education. And then coming in 2017, I just worked for about 9 months. And then I said, no more HR. And it was like my husband says, so what do you want to do? He would send me various things. And I'm like, don't send me any jobs. And he's like, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. I'm just figuring it out. And that's when I understood that there is something bigger for me. Sure. Something more meaningful that I can live with, wherein I don't want other women to suffer like this or be in this space where they're not able to deal with their own complications, which are going to be a part of life.
Yes.
So how do they remain sort of on track and are able to still develop and grow? That was the only thing that was there in mind. And that's why I took up coaching and started to look for courses in relationship coaching. When I went to various big institutes, I came to know that there is nothing called relationship coaching. And then you got to go into transformational leadership coaching, and then you figure out your own niche. But since my niche was so clear, I wanted to do clearly on relationships. It became very easy for me to kind of pick up coaching, did my ICF, ACC, PCC, and then, came into a full-fledged relationship, became a full-fledged and relationship coach. And I'm a solopreneur, and all I do is pre-marital and post-marital coaching, along with also interpersonal relationship management, which I do with corporates and universities and all of that. Now coming to the question that you asked, that what kind of issues come? So yes, post-marital, I think we all know, there are issues where their communication is big, breakdowns are there. There are trust issues, there are infidelity issues, there are money issues, there are family dynamics issues, again, the same in-laws and staying together and compatibility issues. But the area that I was interested in, and I wanted to focus more on, because I saw this space as an area where I really needed to do something about it, which is, we around us keep listening to this, Mandeep, that, okay, so many months this person was married, and 4 months down the line, you're thinking about separation. You're thinking about going, parting your own ways. And now that women have become even more financially dependent, it's easy for them to take these calls, which was sort of, difficult in our times, if I have to say that, right? If women were not so independent. So my thing was, what could I do to really prepare individuals before marriage, so that they understand marriage fully well, they understand themselves, they understand their partners, and then take a very informed decision, right? That they finally want to get into marriage, and then they stay there, So I really have developed a program called Happy Beginnings, and it is all about, starting well. So that is premarital coaching, and the issues that come to me in that area are, so people, again, the similar issues. People stay together, but sometimes it is like they don't know how to communicate very well. It is like they blow up for small issues, they get blown up, and then things go haywire. So one is the communication side. The other is managing finances, because so far you have been taking care of your own finances. And then when you come together as a unit, I help them to actually think about a shared vision, have that shared vision, and then move in that direction as a family, as a unit, instead of thinking that this is my money and this is your money. So have it clearly established. Then there are issues where you could have various intimacy issues, which is like, okay, your desire and my desire could be very different. In couples, it is the sexual drives and everything could be very different. You still like to be with that person, but your desires could be different. So how do you come and then have a common ground there, and start understanding it, start appreciating each other's inhibitions and concerns and all of those. Also issues like
boundaries, perhaps, because a lot of people don't know how to respect each other's boundaries, and I think
yes,
very
absolutely, very, very important. And then being very explicit with your needs. Very explicit with your needs, like what you said, drawing the boundaries is extremely important, not encroaching each other's space, not in physical terms, but also, mental, emotional. Also, taking that time for self, that respecting that part of it, that self-care is important, me time is important.
Is it changing in the tier 2, 3 cities? Do you see this after coming back from overseas, that even the tier 2, 3 cities, the women are getting a little bit more vocal about, how they see their life turning out and their expectations from, because whenever I'm invited to, we have a startup in Indore. So whenever I go some of these places, I see the fact that a lot of the bright students actually have this need and the hunger for getting into big metros and speaking about what they want to do, the ambitions to live on their own and really grow. And the same thing about getting married and having children is not the end all and be all anymore. So I'm very enthused with the next gen of, the country, in the fact that globally we keep saying that 65% of the Indians are under a certain age group, and demographically, we are totally poised for really a growth story, overtaking so many of the corporates. So do you feel this in a day-to-day thing about relationships? And I know the divorce rates have definitely gone up in some of these metros as well. What's your experience?
Yeah, so divorce rates have gone up. That's so true. And especially after COVID, in the COVID, lots of things happened, and then people just couldn't stand each other for
If you stayed together in COVID, then you were made for each other. People said that.
Right. So it started to happen a lot. But to answer your question, Mandeep, tier 2 cities are going to take a little bit of more time. But yes, metros, and so I teach, I sort of coach people globally, sitting this side of the computer. It's very easy these days to kind of coach people from across the world. But having said that, people in metros reach out, they want to fix their issues. Also, I think because self-care and mental health is becoming very, very in thing these days. And thank God it is happening that way. People have started to take charge of their lives and in a much better way. So people come for coaching, people come for counseling and all of those things. But tier 2 city is going to take some time. And that's why people like myself who come to tier 2 cities, my first agenda here, Mandeep, was why I started going to the institute, because that's where the youth is.
Yeah.
That's where the people are who are going to make our country what's going to become tomorrow, right? That's where you talk about relationships, you talk about career, you talk about mindset in general, right? You've got to be improving there first, I think. And my whole thing as a WICCI MP State Coaching Council president was to take this agenda to the institutes, to the universities, and really make people aware. First of all, what is coaching? Because nobody knew. I remember 2 years back, if you talked, no, not 2 years, but 3.5 years back, if you talked about coaching, people in MP, not many would know. They always ask this question, are you teaching math or science or physics, or what is it? What kind of coaching do you do? But now it is going to various institutes. When you talk students, faculty, and people in general, they are becoming aware that there is something called coaching, where if you are stuck somewhere, or in general you are having mindset and anxiety and all of those issues where you want to seek some help for my mental health, and people know that where they have to go. So that's what we did through WICCI. Went to the various institutes and corporates and really created those awareness there, through those awareness programs about coaching, and also about how important is relationships. Don't sideline it, because that is the basis of everything that you're doing, whether you're in the colleges, if you're a student. Relationship, everybody is in a relationship, right? They get much sooner there because of the social media and whatnot. So now, how do you really understand it fully well, and then park it on the side and still be able to focus on what are the goals that you have, the main goals and all of that. So I think, yes, it is getting better, but it will still take some time. It is not as good as the situation in metros.
Preeti, one of the questions that comes to my mind is, and I think this is very important for all the coaches, is that the fine line between coaching and therapy, because there are some people who require a deeper, a kind of sorting into the process work that you have to go through to solve their issues, belief systems and everything, not the one which coaches do, but the one which therapy helps with. So do you have fellow therapists that you can refer people to if you feel this much and no more with this kind of a client? Do you do that?
Absolutely. And you asked a very, very pertinent question, Mandeep, and I'm so glad you asked that, because you're right, not just between coaching and therapy, but between the three very, very overlapping things: coaching, counseling, and mentoring. And of course, therapy, the fourth one. So people get very, very confused with that. And let me, in a few sentences, if you allow me, I can just clarify that for the women out here, so that when they are actually figuring out the next profession for them, and if it is any of those, they know what they're getting into. So counseling has been one of the oldest things that we know of, right? People go to the counselors whenever they think that they have some issue. They call it an issue, right? So a psychological issue. So people who are counselors, they typically study psychology, and they can help you with psychological issues where, their anxieties, their depression, so there are a lot of therapies that are also part of advanced psychology. And then, so therapy is, once the counselor is not able to, really help the client with the normal conversation that we have in counseling, then they actually refer it to a more, heavier version of counseling, where people go under therapy and they are, dealt with therapy. So that is more clinical, that goes sometimes on the clinical side, as well as it is non-clinical, wherein there are a lot of healing practices that even we as coaches, we expand our portfolio and then learn to kind of provide the clients with a holistic, perspective to that. But coaching is a very different thing. In counseling, we advise people, right? In coaching is nothing to do with advice. So the whole premise of coaching, Mandeep, is to understand that each individual has immense potential. You have all the answers within. It is just that we are not trained as a society to ask good questions to ourselves. And coaching is all about asking those relevant questions And then, taking the answers out, and then people who come to the coaching, they are surprised that they had these answers within. They just didn't know how to ask that question. So coaching is not an advisory thing. So all those people who come to coaches and think, aap bataiye, it is not about aap bataiye. I will ask you questions wherein you will get these aap bataiye answers to your questions yourself, right? So one is that. Secondly, coaching starts from the present, wherever you are and where your focus is. So I will take you to from point A as a coach to point B, where your future goal
More
is.
futuristic than getting into the past and solving that.
Yeah, which is again, a counseling is more about taking things out from the past, and mentoring, of course, is very different, which is like I advise you from my wisdom, right? And it happens, it's more used in the professional setting where you have mentors.
You're a
And therapy,
seasoned
as I
person,
said,
and yeah, you speak to
yeah.
someone. Tell
Yes.
me something from all the things from your travels and all the people that you coach and mentor and work with. I would love to know what are the three essential, skills that you think women should have, or the three mistakes probably they make, and that's why they need to be very careful about three essential skills. What would you say those are?
Oh, wow. First and foremost, I think, and that also comes from my own experiences,
Yeah.
I think it is very essential for women, and to every woman, I'm saying this to everybody listening, whether you're a professional, whether you're a homemaker, whether you're, a single individual just listening to me, it is very important
Mhm.
to be, if not fully financially independent, but really have something, find your zone of genius.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as cooking. If you like cooking, think about how you can actually convert that passion of yours into something where you can also, if required, you can make money out of that. So being able to find your own zone of
Niche.
genius is very, 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 very important for one. And then, of course, then the financial, independence that you get with that. The second thing is that it is very important as a woman, because women, we all know they juggle multiple roles. Unlike men, it is the society thing for us, that we juggle. From we have our professional lives, we have our children to raise, we have elders to take care of, we have house to look after, we have maids to manage. Everything is coming on, on women. So with dealing with all this and multitasking various roles, it's very important for you to take care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So having those boundaries, like you said, Mandeep, establish those very strong boundaries, whether you are a single woman at home with your parents, then also your boundaries
Yes,
are
yes, obviously.
defined. You can't keep doing everything, working out, and then you're also expected to come and then cook and do clean and all of those. So have your boundaries very clear in your mind, and have that me time, the self-care time for yourself, wherein you are working on all the four sets that I call, which is your health set, where you're taking good care of your body, some exercises, some walk, your soul set, where you're doing some meditation, some practice that really keeps you grounded and you find your anchor there,
Sure.
right? Your mindset, where you're reading something, and I would highly encourage everybody here, and one of the things that I have come thus far, and I feel so elated when I share with all of you here today, that half of this credit goes to the books and the genre that I read. It's all personal development. And when I talk about it, I feel so happy that not just, making that difference in my own life.
Mm.
Now that you know so many things and you can create a difference in other people's lives, that's what each one of you are capable of.
That is
you
true.
know you read, so take care of your mindset. Read something every single day that can add to your personal growth, grow you from inside out. And then you're able to share within your vicinity. It could be your friends, it could be your family, it could be your children, it could be your mother-in-law, it could be your sister-in-law, anybody. So I think that is very important. And the third thing I would say is have a positive mindset. Very, very important, Mandeep. I think going through whatever I went through, and so many women, I'm not an exceptional here, but so many women go through a lot of things in their life, and their drama around. There is emotional, psychological drama, and in some cases,
resentful for rest of their life, thinking that ye mere zindagi mein I'm the victim and ye sab nahi ho raha hai. And you do meet such kind of people, and you feel that just be grateful, and gratitude is such a beautiful thing to be for what you have in your life. Beautifully said.
Yeah. So having that mindset, the positive, if you can begin to see, and that has helped me immensely, that everybody around you is usually good. Usually good. Believe me or not, people who get into what you just correctly mentioned, victim mindset, is like, okay, everybody's there to get me. Everybody's taking advantage of me. Yes. Everybody takes, is trying to seek some benefit. It's not the case. It's actually, and if we can improve our mindset and be in that positive mindset, that people are generally good, just this basic mantra that people are generally, and then if you can keep yourself up to it, I'm not saying that things will not happen. Things happen with me, but you could always choose to behave in a certain way. You could always choose to find your own space. You could always choose to be nice with people, and then see the ripple effect of that.
So I can just keep talking to you for ages, but now the fact that we have a time limit about this thing, we have to get you back on different subjects. But before you go, tell me, what is your success mantra, your own success mantra?
Yeah. So I think some of it is I've already shared with you, Mandeep. It is having that positive outlook and that mindset. The second thing that has helped me a lot is being consistent in whatever you do. So pick up something, pick up a goal for yourself, have a vision. Don't just like every day living, getting up and then finishing the day without having achieved anything. Shouldn't be the thing. I think what has kept me going is every day waking up to what is new for me. What is that I have to learn, and grow. So one prior day, if I can tonight sleep with the fact that I am better than yesterday, I have achieved it. So just
beautiful. That's really sums it up very well. So I really want to thank you, Preeti, for coming today. And as I said, I wish we could go on speaking, because you are very easy to speak to. And I'm sure we will have you on various different occasions, and perhaps you can run a masterclass on some of these subjects that you spoke about. So I'm going to really sum up and say in the end that please, having your own purpose, having a growth mindset, having a positive mindset and a learning attitude really go a long way. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Preeti today. Thank you so much for making time for us, Preeti, and wishing you all the best. I hope you have a wonderful journey ahead and keep inspiring and touching lives of many people.
I really was very happy coming and talking to your audiences, and keep inspiring you yourself. There's such a beautiful community, Women in Power. It's a lot of power in the community.
We are very lucky. We have some very amazing women, and I'm sure whenever we do an in-person thing, we should meet with you. And I hope to meet you in some context, some country, wherever we are. And otherwise, I have to visit Bhopal. I love that city.
Oh, yeah, sure. Thank you very much for having me.
Bye-bye. Take care.